G'day and welcome to Dog Talk. I'm Dan Camilleri.
And I'm Laura McKillop. We'd like to start by thanking Enduro for their ongoing support in bringing you our live weekly Q&A. Tonight we're fortunate enough to be speaking with Rick Jones.
Rick will be picking who he thinks has asked the best question of the night, and they will win a bag of Enduro high-energy food for working dogs with real kangaroo meat.
Hey Rick, how's your day been?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
That's the way.
You can hear me now?
Keeping busy today, mate? Plenty to do?
Yeah, landmarking and marking a few calves.
And got a few people about at the moment as well, and they've cleared out for you, mate, so I appreciate you making some time and space for us.
We've had to kick them away from the tea table because of the poor internet, unfortunately.
You get that on the big jobs. Mate, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, and what you do?
I was born in Broken Hill. I started out lifting lambs and become a shearing contractor, kangaroo shooter, and always had dogs for goat mustering mostly, and put enough coin together to buy my first block in 2007, and I've been playing that game since then.
Yeah, fantastic, mate.
It.
So you'd that's about it. That's all right.
So, where'd your passion for livestock and dogs come from then?
Oh, my mother's family had property all my life, and my father was a shearer, and he was always keen on dogs, and we always had working dogs, and just gradually become part of my life. I used them, through my early years, lifting lambs, penning up, and just seemed to have them, I could see the benefit of them, and snuck into the game.
No, beautiful. And obviously been around a while there and get around to a few different places. Have you noticed a way or a change in the way people handle stock?
Oh, you never, when I first left school, nobody taught you anything about shearing, working dogs, handling stock. Everything has improved with all education, and if you want to listen, and there's an opportunity to learn from everybody today.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Was there anyone that you learn a bit off, or a mentor as such?
The bloke called Greg Prince, that you would have heard plenty of stories and everybody praising the man. Neil McDonald, my first school, Neil McDonald taught me how to put left and right on a dog, and I nearly wore their legs off going round and round in circles, teaching them. I had the obedience and not much else, and Neil taught me how to put the steering on dogs, and I spent a lot of time with Greg Prince after that, and Greg took things to another level, and Pip Hudson, early days. I've done one school with Pip, and I've learned in life, you learn more listening than talking, and that's, I owe them all a bit. Yeah.
And do you remember your first dog, mate?
The first decent dog I had was a dog that was actually, I remember, it's not my first dog that I trialled or anything, but first dog was an Elfinvale dog, and I could catch pigs, retrieve ducks, find roost, do whatever I wanted with him, and we progressed along the way with a little bit more class.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
we didn't.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to say he penned up a lot of sheep, but he didn't have a lot of talent other than being me mate, really.
Oh, well, you got to like him first, right?
Oh yeah, like he just went up. I'm only quoting that as he was hopeless outside, but so was I at that time. So we got on good together.
types of or style of dog, what are you looking for these days?
Same dog probably as I always looked for. Like, you know, as I said, I was a shearing contractor, but I had plunge dips and crutch and trailers, and I've always liked a dog that got around his stock, laid off his stock, and give them an opportunity to sort of go somewhere. And I've never had big, saw them up, powerful yard dogs, although my job required a bit of force at times. I got by with what I believe was paddock dogs taken to the yards, and and they're still the same dog I need today. I've got a lot of scrub country, and I play with goats a lot, and they're a large part of my income. And I've got country where the dog's got to introduce himself and be calm, and don't need force at all until push comes to shove, you know. But yard dogs don't cut it with me anymore.
And you find those particular type of dogs that you're looking for to do those jobs, you get along with well, just in like their nature and temperament?
Oh, look, I need a harder type of dog. I need a dog that I've got to stop, not start. I look for dogs that have calm strength, but they've got a head, hold and cover. And yeah, I like thinking dogs, but also dogs that can lift stock when they have to, but not until told.
Beautiful. And what is your team at the moment? What have you got? What dog wise around you at the moment?
Oh, I've got a lot of half-trained ones.
It happens when you're poor on time, right?
Look, I tried to retain a lot of what I originally started with, and I've managed to infuse some other lines, and I'm just hanging in there, really. But I'm doing my job.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about some of those dogs, mate. Have you got some older dogs in there as well?
Yeah, again, I'll go back to Neil McDonald. We started with a double cross of a dog he had called Wobberkill, and he had the smarts. They were great mustering dogs, gathering dogs, and all right inside too. I had some fun with some of them, but I bred down, and I had one particular dog that bred well for me, and I've managed to hang on to a bit of that, and I continually try something outside all the time as a sire, you know.
Yep. And which dog was that, mate? You said that the dog you held on to.
Oh, the line that I've tried to. I had a dog called Silver City Asset, Rowdy, and a son of his, a little dog called Harley that is in a few people's lines today. That that's you know, Greg Prince used to always say to me, line breeding if it works, and inbreeding if it doesn't, and half brothers and half sisters and so on. Well, I've done just about everything that trying to retain what you had, and I'm still hanging in there.
You're still hanging in there?
Hanging in there,
just talking on that breeding there, have you got a particular cross in that line breeding line that you like? Like I know a lot of people like that uncle niece kind of stuff.
Well, like Greg used to talk half brother, half sister. Yep. And I have tried most mother, like half son over his auntie, and like madness really. We've tried to every conceivable
combination,
but Greg always spoke half brother, half sister, you know, and but I've tried father, daughter, and I've tried different things, and I have had dogs that couldn't produce themselves, yet their sons did. And they produced the father. And look, I'm no guru with any of that. I've struggled at times trying to reproduce what I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't quote any particular combination that I'm not just not very sure that anyone is any better. Or just loading up in a line sometimes works. Like, you might have had a half brother, half sister, and then that bitch will breed or the dog will breed on for you, and it can be out cross bitches. It's very random.
Yeah.
Or I am one or the other.
So were there any influential dogs to get you where you are today? Or in
What was
your
that?
genetics even? Any influential dogs or bitches that have gotten you to where you are today, breeding or work-wise?
Oh, look, I've had what I considered one good dog. I've had a few handy dogs, but the best dog I ever have owned is that Silver City Asset, Rowdy.
Yeah.
He's by far the best dog I've ever owned.
And why is that though?
Yeah, what made him so special to you, mate?
Because he headed like nothing else. He was as strong and calm. He had cover and he had presence. And I made a lot of money mustering goats, and I had a bit of fun with him competition-wise too,
Yeah.
But he put the fun vouchers in my pocket.
I like that.
I do too, yeah.
I do that. And we'll touch on a bit of trialing later on. So obviously, if you had an old dog back, that would be him, mate. Why Kelpies?
Why Kelpies?
Why Kelpies?
Well, that's all. Yeah. Well, that was what was about. We didn't have collies near us at the time, and look, I've tried a lot of Kelpies, a lot of collies, not Kelpies. Tried a lot of collies, and I keep trying, but we're just struggling. I don't think they like me.
It's all right. We can't all get on with our employer all the time, can we?
No. No, I do like them. I like the footwork. I like a lot about collies, and there's a lot of good ones out there. I just haven't meshed yet.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Question here from John Pillow. What's your preference? A dog with nice work and a shit temperament, or a dog with a great temperament that's fairly plain?
No, neither of them. I'd struggle with either.
Yeah.
But temperament's a big thing, and there's plenty of them out there that I wouldn't put up with either of them, unless you had to.
Yeah, unless you're stuck in the corner.
Oh, well, you'd go with the plain dog with a better temperament. You'd probably get through and get by, but temperament is a big thing. Yeah, I won't tolerate. There's plenty of them. We've got plenty of time, hopefully, so we, get another one.
Get another one. I can't imagine that, doing the goat work you do, having a dog with a shitty temperament. If you ask it the couple time, you could blow goats pretty quickly, right? You need it to be working with you.
Yeah, it was the same in any job, isn't it? Like, you want to trial that dog and he's got a bad temperament and he's worried about you. Well, he's not going to listen. And I'd certainly go answer the question properly. I would go with the dog with the plainer work with temperament.
Yeah,
no,
that's
sure.
good. Mate, what do you think makes a good sheepdog compared to a good cattle dog? Or are they one and the same? Or are there unicorns out there that are good at both?
Mate, opinions are like them other things that we've all got one of.
Yeah.
And I don't work a lot of cattle with dogs. I know there's a lot of people that it's part of their job and they need to. But I picture myself at 100 kilos trying to grab a Land Cruiser running down the road that's rolling down the road, and I go under the front wheel, it's 30 times heavier than me, and I'm not going to go too well. I've seen more tail turning and more dogs hurt. The dog that'll work billy goats generally will work cattle. I do work cattle, just more so for other people to witness that the dogs will work cattle.
Yep.
I like them. Look, I don't want to rattle anyone's cages, but they're sheepdogs as far as I'm concerned, and they're punching above their weight on cattle. And I know, breaking weaners in, and a lot of people use them, and they settle stock down and all the rest of it. That's great. People do that. I don't have a problem with it. I've seen most people have got 20, 30 dogs and they're weaner breaking, and people, it's part of their life. It's not part of mine, so I don't do it. But a quieter, calmer dog, and dogs that'll hang behind the eye and not head as hard and allow stock to walk. There's a place for them, and a lot of people need them, but I don't. I just don't like watching dogs going underneath 600 kilogram animals getting spat out the back.
Yeah.
And the tail turning that I've seen, if you want to trial dogs, it's a great way of putting that into them too.
No, awesome.
There's an opinion that'll rattle.
No,
Yeah, no,
that's what this
honest.
is all about, right? And I actually used that phrase you used today, that opinions are like those the other things we all have. So totally get where you're coming from, and that's what Dog Talk's all about, right? To hear everyone's opinion. So no, I appreciate you sharing out yours.
I never thought of it like the Land Cruiser, like you said, running down after it, and you put it like that, and you really got to look at it like that as well at times, like total different opinion to think about. It's awesome.
Well, that's right. And people need to use them, and I appreciate that. But I don't use them. I show them just so that I know that they'll work them and other people can see it.
Yeah.
But,
So you've mentioned a couple of times heading ability and paddock work. How important is that natural heading ability to you? Can you do what you want to do without it, or is it something that
it's paramount? Like if they don't head, I can't pull anything up. And we deal in large numbers of goats, and goats have been worth a lot of money. I've got 12,000 sheep, and I use the dogs on the sheep. Don't worry about that. And also on the young, just bought 300 young calves here, and I've been playing with the dogs on those, but there's no risk of them getting hurt. And I don't want to sound wrong. The weaner breaking and the educate the young stock, and blokes handling large numbers of cattle with individual dogs and team of dogs, good on them. And I don't have a problem. I'm not knocking them. Don't think that. Just my dogs have to head, and if they don't, well, they're not my dogs. It's that simple.
So off the back of that, mate, how important is natural cast to you? Or is that something that, as long as it will head clean but won't cast, you can work with?
Well, you picture an open paddock and picture a scrubby paddock, and there's all the arguments on casting. And if you're on a football oval, you want the dog to cast via the fence. And if I get a dog that casts via the fence with scrub, I might as well not have let him out of the box.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to find, unless the wind's blowing in his face and he can smell the animals, I don't catch them.
Yep.
And I like a dog that goes as straight as hell and breaks, pear-shaped cast, if I could pick him. But a dog that heads, I'll put up with whatever he's got.
Yeah.
But I quote Greg Prince again. He used to tell me he liked to teach a dog to cast in preference to a natural cast.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought about that at the time. I thought it'd be a hell of a lot easier with a natural casting dog. And I've not ever had great wide casting dogs. I've had dogs that search for stock and what I consider good paddock dogs, but they wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea in their casting ability.
Yep.
Yeah, straight and boot like hell at the end and rate and treat their stock, but they've got to be able to see them and they've got to get around them the fastest way that they can get there for me.
Do you know the fastest way from point A to point B, mate?
Tell me.
A straight line.
That's it.
What do you think? I was just going to say, what do you think was Greg's thought process behind teaching it versus a natural one? Did he ever discuss that with you?
Oh, well, a dog that was naturally wide, that was pretty much the dog's cast. He would teach a dog to kick out on its run out, work wider off its stock, and he liked to tell it to get out.
Yeah.
And that was just his thoughts on the job. But what happens here, the tighter they get and the older they get, the wider they get. And it's, if they start out wide, they get wider and wider, and you cry tears of blood waiting for them to get around the animal.
Yeah.
It's pretty frustrating when you can see the animals there and your dog's, they're going 200 metres that way, your dog's kicked out 400 metres that way, and you're like, is this going to happen today?
Especially when they're heading towards a neighbour's fence. They've got billy goats worth $400 and the dog's going via the next state. Horses for courses. My needs are different to every other person's, and you select what you require, don't you?
Definitely.
Absolutely. And in that scenario, you're there watching the billy goats run away and you're going like this, like that, and your neighbour's going like this on the other side, ready to cast his dogs around.
They don't like seeing their dog on their side either.
No, they don't.
Do
you want to get this one?
Yeah, we'll go this one first.
Cool.
What is natural feel to you? Or what is feel, I should say?
Natural feel?
Just feel in general.
Oh, look, again, I quote hold and cover. And early days, a lot of my dogs, I'd go to a trial and people would tell me they clap too much. And they'd, lay down, taking the pressure off the stock naturally. And, I started to think that my dogs were lepers, like something was wrong with them. And 10 years later, all I'm trying to do is stop them at the end of the cast and get find what I had again. And you were teaching dogs to lay off, and good dogs have got feel, and like I said, I had crutch and trailers and plunge dips, and I had paddock dogs forcing up, and they'd lay down at the back of the pen and put pressure on when they needed to put pressure on you. You didn't have to shut them down. And those dogs are there. Plenty of people are breeding them. And just relieving pressure naturally. If you can find that, you've got just about everything in a nutshell. A dog that will cast out, head like hell, and then rate stock, what I call rate stock, as in don't gallop them, and put the pressure on when confronted. But rating is probably when I say rate stock, I mean not force not have them gallop them.
Read them for what they are and work accordingly.
Well, you watch them, a lot of what I've got they run out, and as they're getting closer and closer and they're about to influence the stock, they boot, and they try to keep things as calm as they can. And when I say boot, I mean break out. And I hope that they'll think at the end of the cast, there's your feel. What I want them to ease up, introduce themselves, but not bust anything until I ask them. If I want pressure put on, I want to ask for it.
And do you think that feel can also be taught, or it's something that they've either got or don't?
I don't think you can teach it.
Yeah.
No, I don't. You can put a brake on a thug, and you can try like hell to make a weak one strong, a weak one to come in. And why I've said that is, like, you talk about feel. Well, the dog can get to the end of the cast, and the stronger dog that we want him to introduce himself and then take the pressure off, or as we ask, you want him to force. Well, the lighter dog, we're going to struggle too, aren't we? At getting it to lift. The feel, well, we've got to move them, and then we want to caress them, and the weak dog will bomb them, and the thug will do very similar. And in my game, like, I'm quoting my needs mostly.
And do you reckon those dogs that have that you just described there, that dog that you like with that feel and that rating their stock, do you reckon they're more of an intelligent type of dog yourself?
I do. I do, because they're wanting to hold things together, not blow it up. They've got that better herding, holding ability, natural ability. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
One more question here. Question here from Dustin Rowe. What makes a good goat dog in your opinion?
I think you touched on a lot of it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like a dog that goes out around his stock cleanly and heads hard. Got to get there, and naturally lays off them, naturally pulls up. I need dogs with eye, and a dog that'll settle on his own and introduce himself and just hold the mob together without creating problems. If they can do that, then I can get to him or her, and we can move off. Break them in naturally, just leave them alone, cover one that wants to break, and then is strong enough to come in on command to move them. Yeah,
sounds like I wish I could have a few of those in mine. And actually, off the back of that, do you like having a team of dogs similar like that, or do you like having a thug in the team there somewhere as well, like you can ramp in and out?
I'm a bugger because I'd like 20 like my best one. But it doesn't always happen, and you got to put up with variance, and whatever you need to do to move them at times you'll put up with. But you certainly do need a bully, and if you've got 3 or 4 of them, then you get one that breaks and they're all wanting to be deals. And you do need a couple of hammers, but you don't need a box full of them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And where are you finding these dogs? Are you breeding them yourself, or are you buying them outside dogs? Where are you sort of finding them?
I was always told if you didn't look outside your own backyard, you were going to run into trouble. And I haven't bought too many dogs in the last 10 years, but I've had dogs given to me out of my bitches that have gone to some of the favoured dogs that are running around now. And I spent a lot of money on dogs over time, buying from everybody that was anybody. But the bulk of what I got now are out of my bitches that other people have got. Yeah.
Do you want to go with that one, actually?
Yeah, Simon Bowden's asked, what has been your most successful outside sire?
Yeah, I couldn't quote that over my time. You'd rattled me to come up with an answer quickly, but there's a dog that I've got a couple of males here, 3-4-year-old at the moment, that Rafa of
Dean Inches? Dean Incher?
yeah.
Yep.
Geez, he seems to be putting some on the track at the minute, but
Yep.
I'm not familiar with too many of the dogs at the moment. I haven't been around the scenes to really comment on who they're using. Had that question been given to me an hour ago and I could have thought about it, yeah.
That's cool, mate. And are you breeding many pups for yourself?
No, I keep missing them. I never seem to be home when they're on season, and I probably only breed 2 litters a year.
Yeah. And what are you considering before joining your bitches?
Consider what, sorry?
What are you considering before joining dogs?
Well, I've got to like them. And I must have liked them to be at that joining age, but I always struggled. Like when I was competing, I don't know, I think I was too hard, and I never have had any more than 1 or 2 bitches that I could feed thinking I had a good one, and I've never been a pup factory or. I'm pretty critical, and I've always struggled to retain too many. I get pups from, as I said, from joinings, my sire over somebody's bitch, and I take one, and that's sort of pretty much how I've rolled.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what do you think makes a good sire?
Oh well, everything that I said earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a dog that'll head, and a dog that's got calm strength, and a dog that you talk about feel, a dog that's naturally able to hold a mob.
And actually, you just mentioned before that you normally only have like 1 or 2 bitches around. Do you get on with dogs better than bitches?
Always did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like male dogs, and I just do believe they are a bit tougher when it comes to. I keep quoting my job, but when they're getting jumped on and hurt, which happens at times with a goat. I've got bitches here, every bit as strong as any dog I've ever had, but I just like the males. I do.
Yeah. And so we hear it all the time. Someone thinks that a dog or a bitch has more influence over the litter. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Only what I've been told, but I remember Neil McDonald ages ago. I'm talking 25 years ago, talking about the bitches, the same as in the dams with the racehorses. And his words at the time, you need a very dominant sire to reproduce himself. And we were talking about that earlier with the breeding. And I found I found that the dogs that had a double cross of themselves virtually would reproduce. And I've got bitches here that doesn't seem to matter what dog I put over them, I get a dog worth feeding. And then you can have the best bitch of a lot of them. And if she's not related to herself or line bred, you seem to have the old shotgun effect where the pattern scatters everywhere and you don't seem to get any consistency within the litters. Again, we're touching on something that I really, I'm only voicing my opinion, but I don't know. I think a line bred bitch is going to influence a mating far greater than any sire. But in every mating, you seem to get dad. If you're lucky enough to pick him and dad's what to reproduce. But I can't tell. I can't tell who to pick at a young age. And, you know.
And having have had some pretty handy dogs yourself, and we see a lot of at the moment a lot of AI with older dogs that have been dead for a while. Do you have a preference or do you have an opinion on using old dogs that have been gone for a while compared to finding the best at the moment?
No, I don't. But I haven't had any success with the AI and at all. And I know plenty of people have. When I say I haven't had much success, I mean on the strike rate with the number of pups, and I've had all sorts of trouble. But no, I don't. I don't think today's dogs are any different.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've paid a lot of money storing semen and never had a win with it.
Yeah, right.
Really.
Yeah.
And you said there before you can't seem to pick a pup at that young age. Do you have any little tricks that you do, or
secret handshake, or
yeah?
I only pick on like and type, and unless you've kept them on, and then you actually watch them work, and that's the only way that I can select exactly what I like. To pick them out of a litter, well, no, only pick on type.
Yeah.
That question was actually asked by Dustin Rowe as well. So he asked about that pup, picking a pup. Mate, what advice would you give to someone wanting to purchase their first dog or a pup?
Well, I think I only heard part of that, mate, but what tips do you give them, did you ask me?
Oh, what advice would you give to someone that wanted to purchase a pup or their first dog?
Oh, well, go to the people that are reputable and pick the one you like. Nothing.
Pretty much it, isn't it?
They're the same as most of us do.
Yeah.
As long as you've had a look, as long as you have a look at mum and dad, if you like what you're looking at, you've got half a show.
Yeah.
Get someone else to pick it for you. No, you can blame them if it turns out rubbish.
So what you do?
Yeah, get my kids to pick it. And I go, I just shouldn't have kept that one. I should have kept the other one.
What age do you go about starting your pups?
I throw them in as soon as they're old enough to chase. I'll put the whole litter in and put them in my training yard and just keep introducing them until I see something. It might be 8-10 weeks of age at times if I've got lambs, and there's no set pattern with that, but pretty early generally.
Yeah.
And what's your training yard setup look like, mate?
I've got a round yard off the edge of a 45. I've got like a tennis court and chain wire plastic tennis court. Chain wire is what it is, but 45 metres by 30 metres with a round yard off the end of it. I've just got a small pen and a drench race within. It's a big enough area to work, teach them to balance, and put them on steering and teach them to back. But, just teaching the outside work, it's big enough for me.
That's all
cool.
right.
Tim Hall asked, do you want to read that out, Laura?
Yeah, Tim asked, what's the thing that turns you off a young pup?
At not wanting to work.
Yep.
Yeah, look, that's a pretty broad question. I guess if it's not showing any desire, and but there's lots of different things that will turn me off a young pup, and it all comes back to what we said earlier. Like, if it's got no desire to get to the head or no desire to work, well, I quoted a couple of people earlier, and one used to say to me, if it's not working by such and such, you find a rabbit warren, or you find someone you don't like and you give it to them. And I don't put any time frame on the time that I'll keep one for, but look, if it's showing no interest, it's very hard to put up with, isn't it?
Absolutely. What about attitude, mate? Could you put up with a dog that's a pretty natural, pretty nice dog, but just got a shitty attitude?
Well, that generally, we talk about temperament, and I don't like dirty dogs. I don't like bite. But I don't know about the attitude. If they got desire, and they've either got a good nature or a bad nature, I'm probably the one with a bad attitude.
And how much time do you put into your training? Like, is most of it done on the job, or are you setting time aside to train?
Nah, I never take a dog to a job if I haven't got control. I was always called a control freak, and I can't take a dog to the job without having the levers on it. I do all my training in a training area, and once a dog has got a break and I can pull him up and call him off, I'll take him outside. I might throw him on a big mob before he's ready. With older dogs, giving him a bit more to think about, but I don't train on the job, no.
Cool. Do you want to grab that question?
Yeah, I was just going to say about your commands. You've mentioned a couple of times how important that stop is for you. How do you go about putting that on?
I do it in a round yard, generally with sheep on a lead, and when the dog's got his mind on working, I put the call and the stop on with sheep pretty much the same time. Yeah, I'd teach him to come off, and then the next one is to stop. Mm-hmm. But with sheep.
Yep.
Yep.
Always on sheep, mate, when you're training?
Yeah, I do. I do it like to get them to come away. I teach them in a situation where they've got sheep, and they've got the distraction. They want to work, and they've got to come off, and you teach them to come away, and then the next game is to stop when told, and again you can do it in the shed, you can do it away from stock, and as soon as their instinct kicks in and you put animals in front of them, you've got to do it again anyway, so you might as well do it there to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned earlier that it was Neil McDonald that helped you put sides on a dog when you first were kicking off.
Correct. Yep.
How'd you go about that, mate? What did he drill in there to get you going? Oh,
he just showed me. He showed me how to get going with with the body language to direct the dog 360 degrees one way and the other, anti-clockwise, clockwise, and how to go about it. And I'd never been shown, and once I started to show interest in the trialling, then I needed to be able to pull a dog off balance and so on, you know.
Yep.
And do you still use those principles, or do you train it slightly different these days?
No, same principles. I've changed a few things, dropped a few commands, but same principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your line of thinking behind, like around dropping a few commands?
Just if you tell me 2 commands, I'll probably remember the second one. You tell me 10, and I'm struggling. Just shortens it up. Shortens the training process up, and I just believe the dog absorbs it and picks it up quicker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a massive believer in that myself. I try and use the KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid. Is my philosophy. As less as possible.
Yep.
Question here from Kylie Rees. At what age in a young dog's training can it be used as part of the team for pushing up, drafting, etc.? For example, will an 8-month-old dog performing well in the training yard but still learning sides regress if used for real work or full-on push-up work?
I go back to what I said earlier. I don't take an untrained or unfinished dog to a work situation. Now, farmers that only handle stock a couple of times a year, that's how they teach them, isn't it? But, you know, the shortest way home is that training yard and a few quiet sheep and a bale of hay. If you want the best, you've got to sacrifice a bit of your time, and you know, I just, and as a contractor with his crutching and trailers and dips, broken necks at the back of the pen, training pups, I just didn't do it.
100%. What's the hay? What's the bale of hay for, mate?
Feed the sheep.
Beautiful, mate. Off the back of that, Dustin Rose asked, "What are your main commands?" So I think when you said you're dropping it and you're keeping it simple, and for the farmers out there as well, what do you think is essential? What commands to take a dog to work?
If I had my time over again, left and right, that a lot of people use.
Yep.
When I first started, I had more commands, you know, than I believe was required. I don't have many now. I have a whistle to come to me, or the name, the call to come to me, a stop, and I have a 1-word directional command, anti-clockwise, 360 degrees, which anti-clockwise I use back, clockwise I use over. That's a Neil McDonald. He used to say to me, the way to remember was you wind a clock back and the clock ticks over. I still remember it today, and that's how I do remember it, and it worked. And I only use a single word command for 360 degrees in each direction. As I said, the dog's name or a short whistle to come to me. I use another whistle to teach him to bark. But I believe I only have about 5 or 6 commands. I have a get out command if they're coming in too close as I'm putting my steering on them, or if they're casting too tight. But I don't overload them. I don't think. Stop here, left, right, get out, get up, and speak, and a short whistle to bark, you know.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
That's about it.
And you only like your bark on command?
Yes.
Yep.
Only
That'd be pretty important to you, wouldn't it?
Not, you know, dogs like on cattle. Well, you know what it's like on cows and calves. It's no good. And I do a lot of mustering on waterholes and so on, where you sit, you wait for animals to come in and put the dog around them and collect them after they've had a drink, and there'll be more coming. So you don't want to tell them that you're there. So you don't want a dog barking, and barking at the bums, which I was always taught also. Bite on the nose, bark at the bum.
Yeah, 100%.
And only when you were told.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you mentioned a bit earlier that you have done a bit of trialing, mate. When did you start trialing?
I'm trying to think. Probably early 2000. Yeah, 99, 2000, something like that. Yeah.
And what trialing did you jump into? What style of trialing?
Oh, I've done a bit of yard dog trialing, and then I've had a crack at the 3 sheeping and utility trial, and had to try it at all. Had 3 or 4 cattle trials just to say I'd done it, but liked it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we want to bounce onto that one quickly, or?
Yeah, back to that bark. Questions just come through from Brad Bottrell. If you got a free barking dog, how do you get to bark on command only?
Difficult. And I'm not his man. And once we teach them to bark, they generally start to give it to you every time you build up with excitement, or they think you're asking for it. And I have never been able to, other than we try and tell them to shut up, but they don't listen.
Oh, I'm no guru, Brad, but if I've got a dog that's barking in the kennel, I'll try and put a command on that bark in the kennel, so that way I can give them a silent command as well. And I find that works for me sometimes. But like Rick said there, when you get a bit of excitement and they already know how to bark, sometimes they find that's on switch themselves. So going to have to just have a play with that, Brad, and see how it goes for you. Rick, we'll just jump back onto that trialing there, mate. You've had a crack at different formats, mate. Why do you trial?
Oh, it was to better my my control, and I found it exciting. It was something you could do on a weekend. The same dogs that I was using in a work situation, I could go away and compete with them. It was a good sport, and I only trialled because I wanted to learn. There was skills required that I didn't have, and it was mostly to better my handling ability, and I did enjoy it.
Definitely. What were you gonna say?
Actually, I was going to ask. You said that one of your first points was to better your skill. Do you believe that trialing helped you hone in on your dog handling skills?
Yes, yeah, it does, and you're involved with a lot of people that you learn a lot from, that are handling them better, and you're watching what's going on, and certainly I learned a lot. And you'd ask a question here and there, when, like the guy with the barking dog, free barking dog. I was told once, when my dog's putting reverses on him and I'm barking at you, and is it a command or is it a reprimand? What are you doing? You're stirring them up, and there's a lot to be learnt from somebody that knows more than you, and you always pick up something from in the trialing.
It's actually funny you mentioned that, because I've actually got one dog here that recently, when I've started to reverse it, it starts to bark at me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not asking to do that. And I just start shutting it down when it does that. How would you go about that?
Well, yes. Again, we're getting back to that excitement, and it's I teach with frustration, frustrate the dog to teach him to bark at the tail, and you've got him on a lead where he can't go anywhere. You might be tapping him between the legs to reverse off, and it's frustration that stirs them up more so when you're teaching the bark. But to teach them the reverse, you just got to be a bit careful how you go about it, because if you're in their face, they do tend to bark, and you just got to go a bit steadier with it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's your opportunity to tell him to shut up.
Yeah.
Before he starts barking too much. But I've run into it. You've just got to change your method a little.
Tweak it up a bit.
Well, get out of their face a bit.
Yep.
Just back off them a bit. Yeah.
I'll give it a go. Thank you.
And you mentioned before you trialled your work dogs. We hear a lot of debates that trial dogs don't make work dogs and vice versa. What are your thoughts on that?
Bit like that opinion story again, and everyone having one. Yeah, I used to hear those stories, and I've already told you I won't keep repeating what I do with my dogs, and those same goat dogs I had a bit of fun trialling too, and it's all controlled aggression. Bite at the nose and bark at the bum, and don't bite unless you're told. And my dogs worked and played, and you can have it. You can have both.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, in trialling today, mate, is there anything you would change in the way the trials are run today, or do you think they run pretty well and simulate good working environment?
No, we've all got we've got an opinion. It's only the politics that are involved with it. The trials are good. There's things I don't agree with, but I love it. I don't do it anymore. I love the whole concept, and again, it's only my opinion, and it's not worth voicing. But it's a great sport, and just got to be careful with the green side of the job, and everyone's trying. I think it's strong, and I had a lot of good times, and do love it.
Beautiful. And what made those trials good and enjoyable for you?
A couple of good dogs.
Yep.
Yeah. And the people,
Yep. Do you have a favourite trial that you used to participate in?
Oh, not really. Not really. I disciplines, yes. I do like the outside work, and I done more yard trialing, but no particular venue. I liked them all.
Yeah, beautiful. What about your best trialing achievement or a special moment to you within that scene?
Oh, I don't know that I had any in particular. I always stayed breeding and training a dog, and then winning a state title or getting in an Australian final, or I used to like it at times getting the father and son and making an Australian final with a couple of them, and dad and the boy and that sort of stuff. But nothing that nothing spins comes to my mind real quick,
Mate, and getting around in your time to trials, mate, was there something you seen in your travels where you thought where handlers struggled with, or you thought they could improve, like stock handling or more training on their dogs?
Oh, well, biting's always been the letdown with a lot of, and look, again, here we go back to taking an untrained dog to a work situation, and there's a lot of people don't have the opportunity to train a dog at home, and they go away to a trial on a weekend to give a dog a look at sheep. Well, that can be ugly, but what do they do?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are we going to see you back out in the trial scene anytime soon?
I used to do a lot of shooting, claybird shooting, before I got into the dogs, and I'm back into that. That's tying me up, and we got nobody judging. It's black and white. I hit it or I miss it.
I don't know. Sometimes you might get a chip off it, mate.
But
Seen that plenty of times. I've seen a chip.
Yeah, I do. I do get the bug every now and again. I've got a couple that are going all right now, and think, I'd like to turn up to a utility trial here and there, and you never know. Monday, maybe.
Nah, mate, it'd be great to see you around. And mate, just off the trialing, but just in the livestock industry in general, mate, what advice would you give to someone that wanted to pursue a career in the livestock industry?
Go to those guys that are prepared to take your money and give you some advice. The stock handling schools, the dog training schools, and I used to be a shearer, and we never had the shearing schools when I started, and now you can do stock handling schools, you can do dog training schools, shearing schools, whatever you want to pursue in any field, and that's my advice.
Mm-hmm.
Go and do a few.
Beautiful.
Great advice, mate.
And is there anyone you'd like to see us sit down on Dog Talk with for a chat?
That I'd like to see?
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time I've seen it, so.
And we appreciate your time and effort. And who do you think we could sit down and have a chat with and take a bit away that you might even like to hear from yourself?
Look, have you spoken with Pip Hudson?
No, we haven't. Purely on technology.
Yeah.
So Pip is definitely on our radar to sit down and have a chat with. I'm sure it'd be very entertaining to have a chat with Pip.
Yeah, that the entertainment will be as great as anything else. But I don't know how he's travelling. But I did do one school with him years ago, and I think you'd find it interesting.
Definitely.
But we'll have to try and make some time to get out there and actually probably do something with him in person, I'd say.
He's your border collie man too.
He is, mate, but we won't hold that against him. Mate, was there a question that stood out for you tonight, and they will win a bag of Enduro high-energy food for working dogs with real kangaroo meat?
Yeah. I would say Kylie Reese.
Kylie, there you go.
Perfect.
Kylie, if you'd like to send us your details, just send us a private message if you obviously we got your name, but your number, your email address, and your postal address. Bag of Enduro coming your way. And for taking the time up for us tonight, Rick, there's a bag of Enduro coming your way as well.
No worries. Thank you.
One last question before you go. Seeing as you haven't heard it before, it could spin you out a little bit. Would you rather fight one duck the size of a horse or 20 horses the size of ducks?
One duck.
One duck. Why one duck?
Well, I couldn't answer it either way.
Well, you're a game man, mate, taking on the one big duck. So I reckon you don't mind the challenge.
Yeah, no. I've enjoyed the time, fellas.
No, thank you for jumping on. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much for your time, mate. And thanks to all our listeners tonight. And please remember, we learn every day, and this day we stop learning will be a sad one for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.